Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. And before we get going on the Deadpool issues, just wanted to remind you to join the team and subscribe to the channel. Just at this early stage, it's really important to get as many subscribers as we can. My goal is kind of to get 1,000 before, definitely before a year of doing the channel. I think that's really possible. So if you subscribe to the channel, that would help out so much. And click that bell as well, because we're doing about 4 or 5 videos a week now. And you'll make sure to get those notifications if you click that bell too. So thanks so much for doing that. Getting into the Deadpool issues today though, Deadpool, think about, when that first Deadpool movie came out, before that Deadpool was a bit of a cult following superhero, but not as popular. And certainly, 5 or 6 years ago now when that movie came out, Deadpool really blew up and all the issues blew up too. So now they're pretty expensive, certainly in the 9.8s. But get looking at some of the issues here that I want to recommend for any Deadpool fans out there. First issue, obviously, New Mutants 98, first appearance of Deadpool. Where you got first appearance of Domino and Gideon as well. Or what is it? Copycat as Domino, so not quite first Domino. But New Mutants 98, you got the classic Rob Liefeld cover. First appearance of Deadpool, so you have that, tangible reason to buy this issue. Any Deadpool fan, or any fan of any superhero, you kind of want to get that first appearance. So this is the first appearance of Deadpool, New Mutants 98. On the census, it's, somewhat rare, because the more experience I get looking at the census, these books from 1991 and 1992, there's always a lot of them. Just looking at the census, 20% of all New Mutants 98s graded are CGC 9.8s, and that's not super rare or anything. But for actually a 1991-1992 book, that's not too bad. Generally most key issues are getting up to like 25% to 30% of all gradeds are 9.8s. So this one being at 20%, a little bit below that. I would say it's about average. The more time goes on, if you read a lot of these CGC advisors, some of their things out of the Overstreet Guide, they get a lot of New Mutants 98s now to grade. Almost every day they're getting more and more. And it just goes back to, 1991 when this book came out, and 1992. Those were kind of just the peak years for printing comics. So, like for instance, this issue and Carnage number 1, ASM 361. There's so many of them. So on the census, there are 2,866 of these, which is quite a lot, even for a key issue. For a sort of comparison, like Amazing Spider-Man 300, which came out just a couple years before this. There's only like 980 of those or something like that. It's just under 1,000 of those. So to have 2,866 of these is quite a lot. So if you're kind of looking at it from an investment perspective, you certainly get the first appearance of Deadpool, that tangible reason. But as far as on the census, it's not looking as good as, say like an Amazing Spider-Man 300, or even like an Incredible Hulk 340. There's not as many. There's like 600 or 700 of those on the census. So again, 2,866 of these. So there's just a lot of these in the 9.8s. And when that Deadpool movie hit, this issue blew up in the 9.8s. It reached about as high, like getting over $1,000 American at one point. So now they've certainly come down to about, I would say, $700 to $800 in that range. Personally, this one I bought last year. It was about kind of fall winter of last year, and I paid $1,090 Canadian. So that's going to put you about $800, a little bit under $800 American, and that's kind of the standard price I would say right now as well. I've seen some go for about that price too, but again, since that movie came out and that sort of hype train of Deadpool, again 5 or 6 years ago, this issue has come down in the 9.8s, and I think it kind of has a lot to do with the census. once collectors take a closer look at it, they're like, is that worth $1,000? Probably not. So now though, I do think that this book is getting into kind of like a juicy buy point. You know, for about the last year, there hasn't been any Deadpool hype really. You know, no kind of pop culture event on the horizon. I haven't seen any like spoilers or kind of rumblings for a new Deadpool movie either. So yeah, right now is actually, I think, a really good time to pick up a New Mutants 98. If you're a huge Deadpool fan, if you want the first appearance of Deadpool, in any grade too. So, you know, the 9.8s, if budget permits, that would be great. It's about $800 US, I would say. If not, you know, just a non-graded, really nice copy. You know, if you can get one for maybe like $300, $350. You know, maybe a really nice copy would be a little bit more than that, but I think that would be a pretty good deal. Because again, yeah, this is an issue that, again, 4 or 5 years ago, if you bought it in the 9.8s, you were probably paying about $1,000 US. So now it's about, you know, $800. And I think that's a decent deal on a New Mutants 98. First appearance of Deadpool. Classic Rob Liefeld cover, so this cover's been cover swiped a couple times now, and I'm sure that'll only continue as time goes on. But, you know, if you do love a superhero, you always want to get the first appearance, right? So, first appearance of Deadpool. Glad to have that one in my collection. Another one I was able to pick up last year on auction for a pretty decent price, I would say, is Deadpool #1. This is, you know, I know he had that 4-book series that came out before this. And it had those like sort of Deadpool covers where it had the whole lettering on the name. There wasn't really like, the covers weren't really that good. So this is actually the Deadpool #1 that I recommend to get. It's the one from 1997. Ended up going like 69 issues, I believe, 69 or 70 issues. And yeah, really cool art actually. This is kind of that classic 90s art where it's a little bit blocky, but the colors are really bright, and personally I kind of like that. And I think too, this being a 1997 book, this is sort of when the comic book bubble sort of bursts. I would say the comic book recession kind of started in about 95 or 96. So these issues weren't incredibly well printed. They weren't just, you know, flying off the printing press like, you know, books were in 1991 or 1992. So a little bit less harder to find this one. But a lot cheaper too than New Mutants 98 as well. And yeah, you do get some first appearances of T-Ray and Blind Al. And you get the cool wraparound cover too. So in CGCs, I always sort of recommend, even though, you know, this one doesn't have the coolest back cover, even though it is a wraparound cover. That'd be nice if maybe they did something cooler on the back. But with CGC Comics, you get to see the back cover, so I do actually recommend comics that have like back cover pinups for investing in CGC Comics. Like Wolverine #8 is the one that comes to mind that I've been buying, that has a cool back cover pinup by Rob Liefeld of Wolverine. But this, you know, this with the wraparound cover, not quite as cool because there's not too much going on in the back. But you get to see the back as if, you know, you wouldn't be able to see that if it was bagged and boarded kind of deal. So Deadpool #1 in the 9.8 white pages from 1997, I think is the coolest Deadpool #1. And yeah, this one, I purchased it, it was I think $250 or $260 Canadian. So that's going to put it a little under $200 American for the CGC 9.8 version of this. And yeah, I think it's a bit of an underappreciated book. I think there's other Deadpool books that are a little more popular. Even, I believe it's issue 65 from this range, where it has the bunny, the Playboy pinup bunny girl on the cover. That one probably is even a little bit more popular than this one. But, you know, personally I'd probably just grab this one. You know, you're getting the first issue, you get first of T-Ray and Blind Al, so at least you're getting a couple first appearances in it. And you're kind of from that era where these books weren't crazily printed as much. And yeah, looking on the CGC census for this one, 29% of all copies are CGC 9.8s. And that's not too bad for, you know, 1997's book again. And my next recommendation, you'll see on the census how that one's even less rare. because you're getting into the 90s and 2000s, and the CGC census becomes a little bit less important at that point, except in like weird cases, I would say, odd cases. Just because the books are so new, they've been well taken care of because they're so new. And by 1997, you know, collecting and collectors has become kind of a normal thing. But there's 454 of these in all in the Blue Label 9.8s. So yeah, 454 of these, 2,866 of these. So I mean, even though this isn't the first appearance of Deadpool, it's still less numbers than New Mutants 98. Probably a little bit harder to find this one too. That's why I bought it. It wasn't really on my list. It just kind of popped up in auction, and in an auction that from a good reputable seller that I follow. And yeah, I just picked it up again. It was about 190 bucks American, I think. And yeah, I thought it was a pretty good deal overall. Definitely a good addition to my New Mutants 98. So Deadpool number 1 from 1997 in the 9.8s is my second pick. And my third pick here is Wolverine number 155 with the Deadpool appearance. And really cool cover by Rob Liefeld. And this cover is a cover homage of Incredible Hulk 340. I did a video on this a little bit earlier, kind of at the beginning of my channel, I would say. But overall I recommend this issue as a good, kind of cheap alternative, or kind of cheap issue that I think has some potential in the future. Mainly because it is a Hulk 340 cover homage. You know, Hulk 340, obviously it's like Wolverine with Hulk in the reflection. So this one is Deadpool with Wolverine in the reflection, so it's kind of like a bit of a passing of the torch. So I think as Hulk 340 continues to gain popularity, you know, people will look to kind of the next affordable alternative, I think. And I think this is really under the radar, but the best Hulk 340 cover homage in my opinion. And yeah, pretty under the radar, this one. Came out in year 2000, so you're kind of right in the middle of the comic book recession, I would say, of kind of the late 90s, early thousands. So this book's not super well printed, but it doesn't have the best 9.8 ratio, which you'd almost expect for a new comic. Like on the CGC census, 64% of all copies are 9.8s. So pretty much people are only sending this to CGC if it's like pristine for the most part. Over half of them are coming back 9.8s. But there's only 115 of these. So I think that's sort of the dichotomy with collectors, you know, CGC collectors, is some of these newer books that are a little bit lesser known, they're cheaper, they're not as well known, but there's a lot less of them than, you know, say the New Mutants 98, where there's 2,866 of them in the 9.8s. This one, there's only 115 of them in the 9.8s. And yeah, I purchased this because it is quite hard to find. I probably looked around for it for 2 to 3 months, just, you know, looking for a decent deal. One popped up in Canada. Someone in Canada put it on for $175 Canadian, plus like I think it was 20 bucks shipping. And I was messaging him, you know, would you take 150, and kind of trying to save 20, 30 bucks, because 175 Canadian, which, you know, works out to, I would say, about 120, 130 American, is, I think, a full price for this issue. It's not really a key issue. It's a cool issue. It is, you know, in the Overstreet price guide, they do sort of show that it has a little bit of a higher price than all the issues around it. 154 and 155 have a Deadpool appearance, so those two issues are like, I think they're worth about 20, 30 bucks in a near mint condition in the Overstreet price guide. Whereas like all the other Wolverine issues around it are like $5 or whatever. So it is, I guess, a minor key, but still quite hard to find with only 115 out there. So it took me a while, and you know, he wasn't budging on his 175 price, so I ended up paying 175 Canadian, plus like 20 bucks shipping, I believe. So almost 200 Canadian. So let's say about 150 American for this. And I would say that's kind of the top range of a price you'd want to pay for this. You know, there are only 115 in the world, so it's not like they're popping up all the time. But when they do pop up, I think you could probably get it for $100 American, hopefully 150 Canadian, I would think would be kind of the top range. But, I just wanted it, and, a lot of times with the books that I really want, if they're out there, and especially if they're in Canada and I can just ship them really quick, I'm willing to pay an extra, 30, 40, $50 a lot of the times. Just because I'm in the position to, and I'd rather have it now than wait. And I'm still expanding my collection as well, so when a really, really good deal does pop up for $100 in Canada, I'll probably just jump on it and get another copy. So, yeah, Wolverine 155, Rob Liefeld, Hulk 340 cover homage is my third Deadpool pick that you should buy for any hardcore Deadpool fans out there like me. And I got three or four more issues here just to talk about that I think are really good buys as well. And one I'm kind of looking for, but it's so expensive, is Venom Deadpool What If. And it's got a really cool cover. In the Overstreet price guide, it's worth like $150 or something like that. I know, I was kind of amazed at how much it's worth. And I've seen 9.8s in that go for a lot of money too. It's not an issue that I really, look for all the time, so I don't know the prices too much on that. But I would think the 9.8s are pushing $500 in the 9.8s for Venom Deadpool What If. Really cool cover, two really awesome superheroes, supervillains, or a hero and a villain, or a merc with a mouth and a villain. But yeah, that one's a really cool issue that you could easily throw it up here, and it's probably it's probably the best issue besides New Mutants 98, I would say, for Deadpool. Certainly when you're talking price. Another one that I really like is a little bit lesser known, is the X-Men Origins Deadpool issue. Got a pretty cool cover. There's about I think 5 or 6 X-Men Origin comics. They're one-offs, and there's like a Wolverine, a Gambit, and a Deadpool. There's a couple others. Those are the 3 popular ones: Deadpool, Wolverine, and Gambit. The Deadpool issue I've seen online in like a raw copy for $40, $50. And at a nice raw grade. In the 9.8s, I've seen those for about $200 American. Maybe someone trying to get a little bit more, I'd like to buy it now. Those aren't, I haven't looked at the census, but I don't think there's too many of those too, so yeah, those might be a little bit harder to find. X-Men Origins Deadpool, cool issue nonetheless. One that, easily is kind of probably in this price range, I would say, of Deadpool 1. You're looking at about $200 US, $260 Canadian-ish. And the other two I'll recommend are, the second and third appearances of Deadpool, which is X-Force 2 and X-Force 11. X-Force 2 is, you'd think on paper it looks pretty good, second appearance of Deadpool. But I notice online it doesn't really sell that well at all, and the cover isn't very good either. Pretty kind of plain Jane cover. Deadpool's not even really like the main focus of it, just not very colorful, it doesn't pop. Yeah, I've noticed those don't really sell very well. Yeah, personally out of the two, I would choose X-Force 11, which has Domino on the cover too, and that's just a way cooler cover for sure. And they're not two issues I like really want, to be honest. I wouldn't recommend to buy them as like an investment. Usually the books I buy are kind of thinking about it from an investment perspective. I don't really see X-Force number 2 or number 11, doing too much. I'd rather grab a more popular Deadpool issue that's probably going to sell a little bit better. And yeah, like ones that would be sort of in that price range of those two would be the Deadpool number 1 and Wolverine 155. But yeah, X-Force number 2 and 11. I'd much rather, if budget permits, grab a New Mutants 98. It's just, second and third appearances, again, they're kind of good on paper, but I feel that if the cover isn't really iconic and cool, they don't really sell that well. And, like another good example I think of this is like Harley Quinn. The Harley Quinn in DC continuity, I have her first Detective Harley Quinn and the first Batman Harley Quinn, which end up being like her second or third appearance in DC continuity, in the newer DC. And Yeah, I picked up those for decent prices, but I don't think they sell really well. I've seen, a seller in Canada, I think, has had one up for like a whole year and hasn't sold. So yeah, generally if you like a superhero, you kind of want to get the first appearance, I would say, or you kind of want to get into like some of their cult following books, which, I think 155 being the cover homage of Hulk 340 fits that description. And then Deadpool #1 kind of fits that description too, because that first Deadpool series was so cool in the late 90s, just with the colors, and there's a lot of, almost every issue is worth at least 10 or 15 or 20 bucks, so they're quite well wanted. And I think you can't never go wrong when a whole series is good. Just buy the issue #1, and again, you get a big T-Ray and Blind Al first appearances on Deadpool #1 too from 1997. Okay, so that's about it for the Deadpool key issue roundup. And thanks so much for everyone for watching. I'm aiming here for about 5 videos a week, I would say. And hopefully in the next month I'll also get a live podcast going once a week, with some of my friends my comic book friends on Twitter and YouTube. Usually we'll get together, or we're kind of throwing around ideas, and I know Metaphorical, who's another friend of ours throughout the comic book community on YouTube, does good podcasts every week, live podcasts. So we'll probably end up doing something like that once every week too, on top of like 4 or 5 mostly, CGC 9.8 videos and thinking about comics from an investment perspective. But thanks so much for watching, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Click that bell, you'll get those notifications, because I am kind of motivated to do a lot of content. So hopefully you click that bell and you'll get all the new videos right away. But thanks so much for watching, guys. Super appreciate it very much, and I'll see you on the next video.